Okay, welcome to another episode of Keeping It Real, the largest podcast made by real estate agents and for real estate agents. My name is DJ Paris. I am your guide and host through the show. And today, once again, is our monthly series, Learn with a Lender, with Joel Schaub from Guaranteed Rate. Now, Joel is a vice president of lending at Guaranteed Rate. He has been doing loans at a high level since 2003 and has got to that level because of what he does specifically for agents, and which is he gives part of his commission back to the buyer on every transaction. Now, last year alone, Joel gave back over $291,000 in closing costs to buyers who worked with him, and that put Joel's volume in the top 0.1% of all loan officers nationwide. Now, out of 400,000 loan officers in the country, Joel is ranked number 137. Year to date, he has done 234 transactions, his highest amount every year to date, for just under 87 million in closing. And in the last 40 days alone, Joel did 81 on-time closings for $28 million. Again, in the last 40 days, 81 closings, incredible. And today alone, Joel has 6 closings that he's working on in between being so kind to be on our show. Now, if you're looking for a loan officer, we cannot more highly recommend Joel. He's the very best we've ever worked with. Joel can be reached at email him, by the way, joel@rate.com, or you can shoot him a text message or call him at 773-654-2049. Let's say hello to the biggest Cubs fan I know, Joel Schaub. Welcome once again to the show.
DJ, thanks so much for having me. And the numbers and all the accolades, all that stuff, none of it matters. It matters that I'm here with you again. Good to see you. Happy Friday to you.
Good to see you. But here's one thing that I think does matter, and this is important, is that Joel is all about giving back. And if you know him personally, you know this to be true, but maybe many of our listeners wouldn't really know that. But this is what how he's choosing to spend his time in between 6 closings that he is overseeing today. That really shows Joel's dedication. He is really the guy who walks that talk. He gives back. He's also there for his customers. It's really an impressive package. So we're super thrilled to have you.
Well, I find that the more you give, the more you get. And the idea here is that it actually strengthens me and those around me by being able to be on the podcast and enjoy. So I did take some time. I stepped outside. That's why it'll kind of go, depending on how the sun is, you'll either see me really good or not. But everyone can hear me loud and clear. And so we're outside. I just take a little bit of time, and I encourage agents to do that as well, because no matter how busy you get, there's always somebody that's more busy than you. And I always think of the story that I did do over 80 closings in the last 40 days. And there were years where I could never do 80 closings. And I remember being so busy doing 3 or 4 transactions a month and never knowing how you could get to 60. But then now that I hit that number, I look at people that do even more. And it always kind of reminds me of, I always use the story of, like, Mark Cuban has the same number of hours in the day as I do. And this guy's got all these businesses from Shark Tank. So as a realtor, find somebody that you kind of look up to that maybe is doing a little bit more in either closings or transactions, and just strive to that level. You don't need to take big leaps, but you have the same number of hours in the day. And so if you can find ways to just get incrementally better, I didn't go from 2 or 3 closings to 80 in a 40-day period overnight. It just takes time. And you just got to keep refining yourself and tuning into things like this. You do such a good job of putting this on, and you're consistent the same way realtors need to be.
Yeah, thanks. To piggyback on what Joel said, once you identify the person who's doing just slightly more production than you, or is maybe just, closing at a higher rate than you, or whatever it is that you're looking to aspire to, reach out to that person. There's nothing more flattering than saying, hey, could I buy you a cup of coffee? I would just want to pick your brain. I would love to learn how you got to that level. And you'll find that you think they get that question a lot. They probably don't. And it's a super flattering thing. And maybe they'd say they don't have time, but more often than not, you'll find that they do. That's how we get guests. We say, we'd love to feature you on the show. And they go, okay. Almost every time they say yes. So reach out as well.
And being on this podcast, you'd be surprised. I'm literally getting dozens of realtors all across the United States that reach out to me and just ask me questions. And they're shocked when I reply within minutes. Like, I give a full reply. and it does strengthen my skills. It helps. You find that the people that are most willing to give back are the ones that are out there really doing it. And so you want to partner with somebody that's going to give back. So this is the segue, right? If you're a realtor out there, find somebody local, right? I'm the mortgage guy in my market. I'm right here right now. I'm going to show you Wrigley Field right behind me. Okay, so I focus on a certain area, even though I'm nationwide. What I do is I make sure that the agents around me get something for working with me, right? So if you're a realtor out there and you don't have a good mortgage partner, these mortgage guys want to help you. If they're not helping you, find another one, okay?
Yes.
So a good mortgage partner is going to be there to answer the phones, get the mortgages done, but more importantly, contribute to marketing, right? They should be doing something that's RESPA compliant, that contributes to your marketing dollars. And I spend over $100,000 annually. I'm spending all RESPA compliant to help realtors go through either Zillow, right? And there are different types of leads, events that they're putting on, marketing, co-branding. So even if you have a mortgage guy that's helping you, see if they will contribute money. That's my advice.
Yeah. Great. Well, I also want to talk about rates. Everyone's talking about rates. It's dominating the news again. So we would be remiss if we didn't at least have a quick conversation about your opinion about what's going on with rates.
Well, it seems like every time we get on, we talk about rates are lower than they were last time, right?
Right.
And it's happened once again. So when we talk about rates, I want to kind of differentiate this, right? We're talking about conventional mortgage rates, where most of the United States, the conventional loan size is 510 and below, $510,000. Above that's jumbo. There are over 100 counties that are above that, but just talking about rates, the 30-year fixed rates are below 3%. It's crazy. Okay.
Yeah.
15-year fixed rates. I had a client 2 days ago that we locked in at 2.25% for 15 years.
Oh my God.
So these rates are in the twos. There's a lot of opportunities right now. And as agents, what it means is you can't just go talk to buyers and say rates are low. That rates don't really mean anything. Rates mean one thing, what it means for the mortgage payment. So if you can talk in terms of dollars and not percentages, you're going to close more transactions. One example, a buyer doesn't write the rate on their check every month when they mail it in. What do they write? They write the dollar amount, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So if you could talk in terms of what this house costs today and what it may cost if you waited a year or two, you're going to get buyers that understand those numbers. For example, a $300,000 house today with a 30-year fixed rate that's now below 3%. Could be about $200 less than if they waited next year and rates go back above 4. $200 a month. I mean, it's a serious number for borrowers. It helps them get into a home at a lower payment or afford more house. So the pro tip, if you will, if you're a realtor, is using the stories about rates, but putting it into terms of actual dollars so that you can educate and teach and empower buyers to get out there and make those decisions, especially when we're talking about first-time buyers.
Yeah, for sure. And even for people that aren't first-time buyers, what a great opportunity to call and say, hey, here's where rates are, and here's, you may want to reach out to your lender to possibly refinance or to convert from a 30 to a 15. Maybe now's a great time to put more principal into the property. I know we did this years and years ago. This was before I knew Joel. And you more, why would I pay more for than he's and a third? I wouldn't have known that as the homeowner unless somebody told me.
Bill, you're exactly right. And it's a good thing that you did. So what does it do? It allows a realtor to have another nice touch with the past clients versus the normal conversation. You are sometimes afraid to call, but when you actually could provide some value, it really goes a long way. Instead of calling that buyer that closed last year and saying, if you know any friends or family, I'm never too busy.
Right.
Heard that line. Just
Can we
call them up
just
and
can we just retire?
yeah.
Can we retire that saying, the I'm never too busy for your referrals? And do you know anybody that's like, I just feel that those days are over. Let's provide value. And Joel, you are all about providing value.
Well, you can actually touch your past clients and just in a really great way where you just remind them, did you have a really good experience with your mortgage professional? Just reach out to them right now. And I've covered this on past podcasts for you guys. You can ask the lenders for the best rate in the market right now, which is really low. And then you want to do a follow-up right away and say, what rate would I get for no closing costs?
Yes.
Okay, that's the big deal. You don't have to go pay thousands of dollars to refi. These banks want your money right now. It's not hard to get a mortgage. It just takes a little bit extra time. Okay. So instead of being done in 2 or 3 weeks, expect that you're going to take 4 to 6 weeks. But 4 to 6 weeks to save hundreds of dollars a month. It's a really good time to reach back out to whoever did your mortgage and just ask them those 2 questions. 1, what's the lowest rate and what does it cost?
Right.
2, what's the lowest rate I could get without any costs? And then do a little bit of analysis, because sometimes you'll find you don't need to take the best rate in the market. Sometimes the best rate in the market is what makes the mortgage guys the most money. So again, what's the no cost rate right now? And if it saves you half a point or 1% off your mortgage and you didn't pay anything, it's a pretty good transaction for you as a buyer.
Also caution everyone out there who is rate shopping to also be really aware of what the institution that is behind that rate is able to do. So right now we're seeing incredibly low rates and banks are competing and one is getting lower than the next. But then the question is, can that lending institution actually close this transaction? And well, number one is, can my client even qualify for that type of rate? And then number two is that lending institution even capable of it? So sometimes the lowest rates are visually very exciting and appealing, but might not always translate into a closed transaction.
Yeah, especially if you're a realtor right now. I find a lot of times the number one thing that's helping get buyers over the edge when there's multiple offers is a strong financing package. It looks a lot better that you have somebody that's known in your market for actually closing on time than an out-of-state lender. Even if that out-of-state lender is me, if you're in another state, sometimes it's better to have somebody that the other agents know is known for closing transactions on time. We win transactions consistently in my market by not coming in at the highest price. Realtors here know my name. They know our branding. They know that we do deals in 2 weeks sometimes. And we win transactions that are less than the top price because they know the deal is going to get done.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. So definitely, find a lender, have a conversation with Joel. He will let you know if he's the best fit. He services all 50 states, but definitely reach out. And if he's not the best fit, he's a generous enough person to push you in the right direction for sure. Let's talk about COVID. So COVID's on the rise, unfortunately, again.
Where?
Specifically,
Everywhere.
yeah, up there, you're okay on your rooftop. Florida, we know, is suffering greatly right now, other states as well. We have additional travel bans in place. So what's going on right now with respect to closings and COVID?
Well, this is something that I predicted a while ago, and it's really starting to come true now. And it's the speed in which these type of pandemics actually move the industry forward. Okay. And so when you're doing these many transactions, one of the big things that we've seen happen is the influx of digital closings, flash closings, and doing all of the documents remote. Okay. So it's going forward at a lightning speed. So last year we did a little over 30,000 transactions on a digital platform, and it was kind of new. And so now when buyers don't want to go to the closing table, or they want to be at a closing table for just 30 minutes instead of 2 or 3 hours, this is what we're seeing. Most of these mortgage companies, and you'll see it a lot next year, but they are going to allow the buyers to do all of their documents the day of the closing right from their phone or from a computer, and only wet sign a few documents. And it's happening left and right. Okay. Wouldn't that be great? You don't got to sit at a title company for 2 hours.
Absolutely. I'm sure everybody is wishing that they did not have to sit there with their client. The client doesn't want to be there. The agent, of course, they want to be there to service the client, but if it could all be done remotely, obviously that's a no-brainer for everybody.
And it's not just remotely, but what it is the ability to do this. And the reason I bring it up here on this is that as agents, we've gotten away from going to our closings, right? Especially if you're
Right.
busy. If you're doing
Right.
several closings, you're finding yourself saying, I'm not going to go to the closing. Do me a favor, do yourself a favor. Start going back to closings when it's
Yes.
safe to do so, okay?
Yes.
And work with a lender on the buyer side that will do digital closings. All of the closings that we've been doing for the last couple of months, the buyers have been in and out of the title company in under 45 minutes. Okay.
Oh, it's awesome.
So as an agent, you don't want to go sit for 2 hours,
Right.
but you could go for a half hour, 45 minutes. That's the most happy time the buyer has. They have their keys. And especially if they don't have to sit and sign every single document, if they can do it the morning of digitally, you are there for the best part of the transaction, or it should be the best part of the transaction. So we're seeing a lot more of this coming up. More and more mortgage companies like the one I work for have been able to do things that we wouldn't have thought, because a lot of the counties and municipalities were against digital closings. And I think by middle of next year, we're going to see full digital closings in a lot of counties.
And remember too, for all the agents out there listening, that you are getting paid very handsomely to help somebody assist in the transaction, to be there at the very end, especially if you're partnered with a lender who's able to do it more quickly, is really important when, you know, you're getting a sizable amount of money to go to that closing. Now, if you have to sit there 2 or 3 hours, of course that's difficult. But if, you know, you're working with lenders that have improved technology to be able to, you know, to do some of this more quickly, it's a great thing. You should definitely, if you can, go to your closings. You're getting paid very well to do it.
Now I fully understand. Okay. Here's the rule that I think: if you're doing under $20 million a year of production in your market, you should be going to almost all of your closings. That's how you're going to get referrals. And I fully
Yes.
understand there's a lot of people on here that they hear that and they go, I could never attend all of the closings that I
Sure.
have, and that's fine. But the idea here is a lot of people got completely away from going to closings. And what you'll find right now is that if you're working with the right team, these closings are one of the best places to be. You can go and be done in under an hour, but just do it safely, right?
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's
yeah.
really good. I know this was coming, and I think there's going to be a lot more of that to come here in the future. So it's just a
Well,
little pro tip for the realtors out there.
Yeah, and we are moving more away from face-to-face activity. Zoom has made it possible for us to have conversations with clients where we're not necessarily right in front for safety reasons or just for convenience. But this is a place, as Joel said, where you get to go to the end, where assuming the closing goes through smoothly, everyone's happy. You're getting paid as well. It just is a great place to ultimately, get some referrals from the client, remembering, hey, my person was there. I know I've done closings where my agent wasn't there. I didn't think anything of it at the time, but I would have felt better about it had they have been there. So this is something that is great advice. Joel, I know you have and this is one of your craziest days ever. Let's go ahead and conclude the episode so Joel can get to the rest of his closings, because he doesn't want to miss them either. But everyone listening, if you're not working with a lender who's taking good care of you, good care of your clients, who isn't investing in your business, Joel mentioned of various different ways where he participates in agents' growth, right? He can participate that and help you in that way. And also help you maybe even put events together and all sorts of ideas. But if you don't have a lender that is doing that for you, now's the time to find one. And Joel is always our recommendation. But what's the best way someone who is listening, who's either, somebody who's looking to work with a loan officer, whether they're an agent or a customer, what's the best way they should reach out?
DJ, we're not done yet. It won't be a Keeping It Real podcast unless we touch base on one final thing, and I want to help agents grow. And the idea here that we always hit on is, how can you find ways in your local market to be giving back? Okay.
Great.
So before we go, the idea here that I've always done is I found one or two things that were just passionate, that I was passionate about, and then branded myself around that so that it just is authentic. It's really easy to speak from the heart and talk about you and your brand when you're talking about things that are authentic to you. So I live really close to Wrigley Field. I'm at my home right now. I'm upstairs, and behind me is where the Chicago Cubs play, and it's a neighborhood. So anybody that's been in Chicago, it's a big city, but there's so many neighborhoods. And what you got to do is find what is passionate for you, and then find ways to use social media and be the person in your neighborhood. So always be giving back. Things like this, it's my way of giving back. But if you're an agent, just come up with a couple of different charities or things that you're passionate about, and you will elevate your business. Okay, with that said, you can reach me, joel@rate.com, and then my phone number, 773-654-2049. And on all the social media platforms, it's Cubs Fan, Mortgage Man. And DJ, it's a happy Friday. I hope you have a good weekend. Stay safe, and we'll be seeing you again soon, right?
We will. And before we conclude, I want to remind everyone to tell a friend. Think of one other real estate professional that could benefit from hearing this great conversation we just had with Joel, and pass this podcast over to them. You can find us on our website, keepingitrealpod.com. Send it to your friends. We just got a message right before we went on from one of our listeners who said, I'm a brand new agent and I've gone through, he said, at least a dozen other podcasts for real estate agents. He said ours was the highest quality. So I really appreciate that. But that was because someone had shared this podcast with him. So please share it with one other person, and also follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/keepingitrealpod. Reach out to Joel. You need a good lender on your team. He's the guy. Joel, we will see you next. Good luck with all the rest of your closings. And I want to come up and see your rooftop deck one of these days. So one of these days I'll pop over there.
Thanks again.
All right. Thanks, Joel.